Right, and getting started on our backs, we ideally, you just want to get comfortable. So there's no like wrong way to lay down on your back. There's only the way that your body needs you to set it up. And I just want to invite you to figure that out. And especially this morning, I think it might be nice to pay attention to the sacral area. So that bony plate at the base of your spine, right? That little piece that connects your spine to your pelvis, this ever important part of the body. Just thinking about finding a little bit of comfort there. So that might mean that you take constructive rest with your knees pointing up, dropping in towards each other. Great. And taking some time to turn on your music, I think, as you get yourself settled in. Turn on your music to allow yourself to really arrive at your practice. Hey, Kira, good morning. And arriving at your practice is, you know, it's like a ritual in and of itself, right? We all have our own way of getting here. This morning before practice, I lit up a little bit of incense and pulled a tarot card or two, you know, like these little ritual things. I took a big deep breath before I clicked start this meeting on the Zoom. I mean, we all have these things that we do that signal to our mind and to our body that now is the time to practice. So just take a moment to do those things. It might be that you give yourself a little wiggle around before finding stillness. And for those of you just joining in, we're starting off lying down with a block and a strap nearby. And you can just hit play on your music as you come to lie down. Right, and maybe take a few really deep breaths as you settle in this morning, just to explore lung capacity a little bit. Noticing if you're breathing just a little, or if you are breathing fully, whatever that means for you. Good. All right, this morning we are dealing with our urinary bladder meridian, which is the longest meridian in our body. And it goes from the inner corner of our eye up and over the head and down through the neck, alongside the spine. A full 17 points are located around your sacrum. And then it just kind of sneaks down a little bit right underneath your butt cheek. There's one point there, right where your hamstring's attached to the rest of you. And the rest of the meridian goes down the back of the leg, right through the hamstrings. There are a few points, like 4 points at the back of your knee, down into the calf, and then on the outer edge of your foot. Right? It ends in the outer edge of your pinkie toenail. So just think about that for a moment. The inner corner of your eye, up and around the top of your head, all the way down the sides of your spine. And there are 2 rows of points on either side of your spine. There are tons and tons of points. Okay, all the way down the back of the leg, the outer edge of your foot, down into your pinkie toenail. This is the urinary bladder meridian. And in our physical body, our urinary bladder is responsible for getting rid of too much water, right? It allows us to process water from when we drink it until when we go to the bathroom. Right? In traditional Chinese medicine, we think about the urinary bladder as being connected to everything else, right? To all other meridians, to all of our processes, this ability to let go. And so I'm reading off of a website here called 5 Seasons Medicine, which I found to be sort of helpful in understanding the meridians in a little bit more of a deep way. And it says, an imbalance in the bladder meridian can cause psychological symptoms such as habitual fear, lack of decision-making capability, and a diminished moral character. Whoa. If the imbalance becomes chronic, it results in such emotional responses as jealousy, suspicion, and holding on to long-standing grudges. Right? And this is out of the book, The Atlas of Body, Mind, and Spirit by Paul Hogum, I believe it's how it's pronounced. It says, typically, if we have an imbalanced bladder meridian, we will be concerned with energy on an almost existential level, wondering if we have the strength to carry on. The nightmare that this can turn into for some is a parched and paranoid terror of fearing for our lives. So we can become frantic in seeking the barest scrap of refreshment and energy. But we can never hold water actively. It literally slips through our fingers, and energetically there is a level of trust and surrender required in order to be able to hold a vessel, a grail, to hold the waters of life. On the land, hard, dry earth will cause sudden rains to move on and pass by, and we need a discipline of surrender and permeability in being able to hold this resource within our energy field. And I just love that concept of surrender and permeability. I don't know about all of you, but I sometimes find myself walking around like setting all the boundaries, right? Feeling pretty hard sometimes, as if I don't want to let anything in. Right? And this practice of yin yoga really reminds us to be a little bit more permeable. Reminds us to be a little bit more at ease with ourselves and in ourselves. So let's just hang here for another minute or two, I think, on our backs. And as you settle in here, really take notice of the back plane of your body, obviously touching the floor. And the sensations that you feel there. The way your entire back supports the weight of your body. Good. The way you are supported by the ground underneath you, and whatever structure you are in, the way that is supported by the earth underneath it. Perfect. Reminding yourself that you are supported, you are held. Maybe just for these next 55 minutes or so, allowing yourself to step away from this sense of fear, perhaps, in your space, in your home, maybe allowing yourself to soften a little bit. Great. You do not have to be so rigid. Another 5 deep breaths right here. In and out of the nose if you can swing it, or in through the nose, out through the mouth. Perfect. Right, and next we are And just bring the knees in towards the chest so that you can feel the whole sacral area at your back there, making contact with the floor. Sometimes when we lie down with our legs long or our knees pointing up, the lower back takes on that natural inward curve, right? That inward lordotic curve. So thinking about kind of, lengthening out those lower lumbar vertebrae here. You might think about gently like sneaking one of your sitting bones forward and then the other one forward so that, you're just creating that little bit of length. And it might feel nice to bring the knees in closer. Maybe you want to take a happy baby. I feel like the antidote to tension in the urinary bladder meridian or this sense of like fear is a happy baby. This is like the world's weirdest and most vulnerable pose. Yeah. You can't do it if you're afraid, I don't think. And so maybe it has the reverse effect. Maybe practicing this super open, kind of silly pose can help to soften that little bit of fear that we all carry around with us. Remembering that this is happy baby and not grumpy baby, and softening the inner corners of your eyes, softening your jaw. Good. Good, another couple breaths here, maybe 5 or 6. And letting those points that are connected to the ground really hold the weight of your body and noticing that heaviness, noticing the way that feels, the sensations that come up. Beautiful. When you are ready, go ahead and set both of the soles of the feet back down to the floor. Let's take just a quick bridge pose here, just for a moment, thinking about kind of compressing that sacral area by lifting the hips up and away from the floor. Okay, and these points run up and down the sides of the spine too, 2 lines of points on either side of the spine. So think about really engaging and activating those points, lifting the belly up. Beautiful, the back of the head presses down, the chin towards the throat. Nice. Good, just another couple breaths in this activated pose. Right, and then go ahead and set your pelvis back down and grab a hold of your block. We're gonna place the block underneath the back of the head here. And I want you to look for your strap as well. And we're just gonna kind of combine the strap and the block to find some nice release through the back plane of the body. So with your head on the block, keep the sole of your left foot on the floor, and we'll take that right foot up towards the ceiling, wrapping the strap around the bottom of the foot. And if you feel comfortable doing this, I've really been loving this recently. It's like giving yourself a foot massage while you're giving yourself a hamstring stretch. Take the strap and kind of pull on one side and pull on the other side and just feel that friction on the sole of the foot. And you might move that strap all the way up and down the foot. You're looking for like some little tender bits. Added benefit of this type of movement is that it helps to invigorate the points, the urinary bladder meridian, on the outside edge of the foot. And so just taking a little bit of time here, finding that hamstring stretch. And yeah, gently drawing the chin in towards the throat as well, so you get that nice opening through the back of the neck. You might extend that left leg out long here too, just to add a little bit, to add a little bit of extra into this pose. Eventually find a little bit of stillness if you're sliding that strap side to side. Just find stillness, wrap the hands around the strap and draw the thigh in towards the belly. Flexing through that right foot. And then you might even consider gently rocking your head side to side here for a moment. And the urinary bladder meridian runs through the outer edge of the knee on the back. So just take notice of some sensations that you feel there. Notice what you're feeling through the center of the calf and down through the Achilles, the belly of your hamstrings, right at the tip of the sitting bone. Maybe just another minute or so here, letting the muscles around your eyes soften. Allowing yourself to move out of any kind of like alert, hyper alert state, letting your eye muscles soften, nothing to see. Right, and for the last couple breaths, it might be nice to lift the head and shoulders away from the floor and move your head up towards your knee and really tuck your chin in towards your chest here. Noticing how the spine feels, what parts of your back are touching down. Good, and as you set yourself back down, just take the strap away, take the block away too. Let's give the neck a little bit of a neutralizing break here. And then think about maybe stretching the limbs out. And we'll just take a couple of breaths. If there's any kind of movement you prefer to take right now, you could do it. Maybe it's happy baby, knees to chest. Maybe you want to send the feet up towards the ceiling and rotate the ankles around. There's really no wrong way to be in the middle here. Good. Last deep breath right here. Right. And then bring yourself back through to the center. And I'm thinking of another little bit of a bridge pose here, which might be your activated bridge. You might slide a block under your pelvis too if you're feeling like a little bit more of an easygoing practice this morning. Yeah, the choice is yours, but here in this bridge, just kind of noticing this line from the back of your head, through the back of the neck, and in between those shoulder blades and down both sides of the spine. Right, and then just underneath your butt cheek, yeah, feeling that point lifting up. Good, feet pressing into the floor, back of the thighs lifting. Good, a deep breath in. And as you exhale, bring yourself back down, and we're just gonna take that same block and strap situation on the other side. So block underneath the back of your head. It might be nice if you can bring the block so that one of the edges is just at the base of the skull. And then think about dropping the chin in towards the throat. We'll take the strap up and around the bottom of that left foot. Good, and then here you might pull one side of the strap, and pull the other side of the strap, and just kind of massage and work through the bottom of the foot. Good. Great. And just noticing how it feels to be in this body on this morning. You're back on the floor. Okay. The back of the leg nice and long. We might extend that right leg out nice and long on the mat here. Good, and then find a little bit of stillness with your hands on the strap. A nice stretch through the back of the left leg. And a little gentle rock of your head from side to side on the block. Allowing yourself the opportunity to release some tension through the jaw, through the eyes. Right, and take notice again of the points on the back of the body and just find stillness here. And with each exhale, noticing where you're connected and letting yourself get nice and heavy into those points. You allow your muscles to soften. Allow your breathing to be relaxed. Good. Maybe another 3 or 4 deep breaths here. Good, and then go ahead and release the strap from your foot. Set your foot back down. And let's take a recline bound angle pose with the soles of the feet together and the knees out wide. Might be nice to take that block out from underneath you. Might also be nice to sort of float those arms up. Ooh, and just a thought here. If you want to interlace your fingers and take your hands to the back of your head and just kind of cradle your head in your hands, that might feel like the thing. And then your thumbs could sneak down to either side of the base of the skull, right? Just on either side of your spine, and put a little bit of pressure in there. That's a pretty powerful point along this meridian. Good, breathe so that you can feel a little bit of movement through the underarms, and the sides of your rib cage too. You need to notice the outer edges of your foot touching down to the floor. Notice if your outer ankle is touching down to the floor. Good, just about 10 more breaths here. Good, and go ahead and let go of this, bringing the arms alongside you. Let's draw those knees back up to touch. And let's just roll over onto our side for a moment and kind of curl up in the smallest little ball you can curl up into in your body on this morning.
Okay, curling up into this fetal position and noticing what's going on either side of the spine. Good, and taking notice of the area of your physical kidneys, okay, which is kind of at your middle back, middle to lower back. Good, and for these next 5 breaths, let's breathe and focus on a little bit of movement there. Good, last 2 big breaths. Great, and then slowly start to sit yourself up.
Yeah, we're gonna sit up and we're even gonna stand up during this practice today. Good, and when we come to sit up, we're gonna take a butterfly pose, which is you with the soles of your feet together and your knees out wide. If things feel a little bit tricky in the hips this morning, it might be nice to just take anything underneath your knees. Sometimes I like to find some couch cushions or a couple blankets and ball them up under the knees. Good, and then really feel the connection of the soles of the feet and the outer edges of the feet to the floor. And if you can grab a hold of your ankles, and we're just gonna take these little swings, right? These little swings from side to side, just kind of exploring range of motion. If it feels weird to have the hands on the feet, you're welcome to bring the hands up onto the knees. Sometimes that helps to promote just a little bit more freedom of movement. Good, and take notice of how things are feeling around the lower back, around the sacrum, in the area of your actual kidneys and your actual bladder. Good. Great. And a couple more breaths like this with some small amount of movement. Again, just any movement that feels intuitive here. Good, and then come to sit up nice and tall. And we're going to give ourselves a little head massage, my favorite thing. So let's begin by taking the thumbs to the inner corner of your eyes, right? The thumbs kind of press in there, and your index fingers come up to right in between the eyebrows, in the inner corner of your eyebrows. So we're gonna start there. That's where the urinary bladder meridian begins. Sometimes we don't even know we're holding tension in this place. But if you think about, like, do you squint a lot? Do you furrow your brow with frustration? Okay, just a little bit of pressure into these points for a few moments. And see if you can let your eyes go and just sit in the sockets rather than moving around back there. Okay, good, and then we're just gonna slide the index fingers up to the hairline and hang out here for a moment. Yeah, on either side of the midline. Right, and then take your fingers and just kind of walk them on either side of the midline of the skull. So we're just gonna like walk them around here. Right, you might take like a little bit of like a rubbing, or even like when you shampoo your hair, like that kind of movement. And not just the top of the head, but down the back of the head too. Hey, are you carrying scalp tension? Are you carrying mental tension this morning? Right, so just kind of moving around here in this like shampooing or walking motion with the fingers. And how nice when you take your shower in the morning, you wash your hair. Maybe you can do this and be like, hey, I'm helping my urinary bladder meridian, how nice. Dual purpose. Yeah, get in there, get in there. And think about spending a little bit of time with some circular movements of your thumbs right on the base of the skull. right? Right where the fleshy part meets up with the bone on either side of your cervical spine. Good. Great, and then go ahead and let that go and just take some head and neck circles. And as you take the head and neck circles, it might lead to you folding forward. Okay, you can just kind of sweep yourself into this forward fold in your butterfly pose. You might look for stillness here. Another nice option is to take your block and place it on the tops of your feet and rest that point right in between your eyebrows on the block. And maybe even rock your head from side to side on the block. And maybe a big exhale escapes out of your mouth. Spend another 2 minutes here folding forward in this butterfly shape. And a deep breath in to lift you up and out of this. And then let's just take the soles of the feet to the floor, your hands behind you, and sweep those knees from side to side here. And I like this one. It's like a little bit of like a kidney squeezer. It's a nice way to stretch those muscles that surround the spine. And then on the subtle level, also sort of compress and twist and wring out the urinary bladder meridian. Good, and rocking from the inner to the outer edges of the feet. When you feel the outer edges touch down, just like notice it, right? Good, a few more breaths here. All right, and as you come back through to the center, let's extend the legs out long. If you have a blanket nearby, it might really be nice to sit up on the blanket a little bit so that you have a little bit more height. Good, and we're gonna take a caterpillar pose, which could be you with your legs out nice and long and straight in front of you and folding forward. Maybe, especially if your hamstrings are feeling tense or your low back is a little bit tricky, it's nice to bend the knees a touch, maybe slide something underneath them. Let the toes flop out to the sides as you fold forward. Good. Yeah, and you have that strap too, so if you're looking for a more activated version of this pose, almost like a Paschimottanasana or your standard forward fold, you might wrap the strap and pull yourself forward. See, this is your practice. The choice is yours. Good, and same thing applies with that block. Maybe there's like a little prop stack on the tops of your legs where you rest your head. Maybe not. Awesome. And so this meridian is governed by the element of water. obviously. And it is a yang meridian, so it's energy of action. And it goes from our tear ducts to our toes. It's pretty interesting to think that all of those things are connected. So just a little bit of time to breathe and just to be here. Right, and see if you can watch the wave of your breath. See the way this breath moves you. And even if your muscles are really soft and easygoing, the breath is so powerful. And it works to soften you. Help you let go a little bit. Why don't we just take another 10 to 15 breaths here. Good. Good, and then coming on out of this, we're gonna move on to hands and knees. Yeah, so just spinning yourself around, maybe a little blanket underneath your knees. I just want you to move your spine in a way that feels like just the thing, right? We all hold on to tension in like different parts of our back. We all, have different shoulders and hips. We all have different knees and ankles and wrists and elbows. So yeah, taking time here. And as you move, for at least a small portion of this, I want you to focus on what's going on in between the back of the heart and the base of the skull. So this place in between, right, all along the back of the neck. Might feel nice to stick out your tongue at some point. Take a big exhale. Good. Great. And really noticing down either side of your spine. The types of sensations that are arising. Maybe you're feeling like a pulling or a stretching or some warmth. Do you have any knots lined up along the sides of the spine? I know that at times I do. Good. Great, and why don't we just take another minute or so here to snake things around, to move that spine in the way that feels right. Yeah, noticing the sides of your rib cage. Noticing the sacrum for sure. where so many of these points are housed. Hey, what's going on in your pelvis this morning? I'm taking this really wonderful yin yoga training with my teacher right now. I feel so excited that the opportunity came up for me. And she talks about this thing called body mapping, which is, you know, where it's really important for us to move our body in so many different ways and to kind of move out of our super habitual ways of moving, so that our brain can begin to understand what's happening in our body and we can create more of like a dialogue. When we don't move our bodies around in a variety of different ways, it's almost like we have like a map of our body and there's like a coffee stain, like a big smudge, right, on a certain point. So all this movement is not for nothing. Try to get weird with it. Couple more breaths. What are you feeling? Where are you feeling it? What is that thing? Be curious. Good, and then eventually we're gonna shift on back into downward facing dog because man, if there's a pose that's, you know, really, really lovely for this whole entire meridian, it is a downward facing dog. Great, let your head drop way down. Soften the inner corners of your eyes and space in between your brow. Feel the center of the heels drawing towards the floor, even if they never touch. It doesn't matter. Good, yeah. Notice the back of the legs, the length of the spine. Good, and so down dog, you know, everybody's different. We all have different levels of tolerance for hanging out in this pose. Eventually, we're all gonna take a standing forward fold. So when it's time for you to move into that, go for it. Yeah, maybe the time is like now. Maybe you wanna hang in down dog for a few more really nice breaths. And again here, once you make it to standing forward fold, just want to encourage you to find a little bit of intuitive movement. Some suggestions are to take some halfway lifts, sliding the hands up the fronts of the legs on the inhale, and then taking your hands all the way around the backs of the legs, sliding them down the backs on the exhale. Good, really focusing on lifting the head, but then releasing the weight of the head down as you fold forward. Good. Another option is to just not move at all, right? Or to just grab a hold of the base of the skull with your interlaced fingers. If you really like that little shampoo-y kind of head massage, head scrub situation, go for it. This is therapeutic. Good. A little bit of self-massage here. Good, and here you are on your mat in your own home. Feel free to make noises that come to you, right? Maybe you don't want to do that, or maybe you want to get real weird. Make a whole bunch of like intense sounds. Good, what do you need this morning to release, to let go? It's like one of the main lessons of this meridian. Right? How do we release our fear? How do we trust? Good. How do we receive? How do we let go? Good. Hanging in this standing forward fold. Thinking for perhaps another minute or so. Good. Here you are in your body with your breath on this morning, on this beautiful morning. Giving yourself space and time for this truly powerful self-care practice. And here you are with each other too. And eventually we are going to make our way onto our bellies. So how you get there is your business. It might be a strong thing like a down dog to a plank, lowering down, or maybe you just want to, slide yourself there too. Good. Oh, yes. I see some forearm planking right on. That's a nice, strong way to kind of melt down. Nice. Awesome. Oh, I get so excited when I see everybody do their own thing. It's so nice. Good. And once you find the floor, really find it. Okay. Think about your joints and making them happy and comfortable. Good. It might mean that you tuck your arms alongside you and even take your fingertips and like tuck them underneath your hip points. Allow those elbows to fall out wide. Head to the side maybe. Nice. Good. And now thinking about the meridian on the back of the body, just being moved by your breath. Notice how far out in your physical body you can feel that movement from your breath. Sometimes I catch it all the way down into the backs of my knees. And let's take 15 nice breaths here. Allowing our breathing to be easygoing. And as we lie here in our bellies, I just wanted to read you a little piece out of the Tao Te Ching. It's number 76, chapter 76. People are born soft and supple. Dead, they are stiff and hard. Plants are born tender and pliant. Dead, they are brittle and dry. Thus, whoever is stiff and inflexible is a disciple of death. Oof. Whoever is soft and yielding is a disciple of life. The hard and stiff will be broken. The soft and supple will prevail. Good. Yeah, let's bring those elbows underneath the shoulders and prop ourselves up into a Sphinx pose here. Good. And in this Sphinx pose, just spend like a good couple seconds here noticing how things feel at your lower back. So this pose is designed to compress the lumbar vertebrae and the sacrum. Compression not necessarily being a bad thing, right? Compression can be rather healing. Great, and think about maybe dropping the head down here so that you can find a little bit of like, maybe a gentle pull or a stretching sensation on either side of the spine at the back of the head. And again, you might rest your forehead on a block, give yourself that support. Nice. And remembering that we are these disciples of life, living, right? Living fully. Allow yourself to be soft and receptive. And I want to invite you to maybe Stay still like this if that suits you, or if you feel like you want a little bit more of like an intensification of this pose, you can walk both of your elbows over to one side so that you feel a nice stretch down one side of your spine and your lower back. And yeah, you might take your head and look over your shoulder towards the outer ankle that's behind you. Good. Keeping those inner eyes soft. And a few breaths on one side, and then eventually making your way on over to the other side. If you're taking sides, eventually bring yourself back through to the center, and you can choose if you want to stick here for a couple more breaths or press into the hands and lift the elbows away from the floor, taking a seal pose, or set yourself down, right? We all have, yeah, our own lower backs with their own weirdness and sensation, so just doing what feels right here. Yeah, and eventually we're all going to shift out of this and into a child's pose. Yeah. And in child's pose, you might take your hands and stack them underneath your forehead, or if you like to place a block there, that's kind of a nice thing too. Good. And if child's pose is just not the thing in your body this morning, if your hips and your ankles and your knees are protesting, it might be nice to come back onto your belly. Good. Good. Taking time here just to breathe and notice how expansive that breath can be within your physical body. Noticing what you're feeling, where you are feeling it. The urinary bladder meridian is directly connected to our autonomic nervous system, and specifically to the sympathetic side of the nervous system, which is our fight or flight response, fight, flight, freeze, and fawn. Right? That sense of internal panic. So by attending to this meridian in whatever way we can and through these practices, it's like we're reminding ourselves that it's okay. Right? And even if at first we have to like fake it till we make it, even at first we don't believe it, even if things actually aren't okay, these practices can help to pacify us a little bit, which is crucial sometimes, right? We can't always walk around activated. It's not healthy for us. It burns us out. So breathing deeply, noticing either side of the spine, the back of the head, all around your sacrum where all those points are, and the way the backs of your legs are kind of compressed here. Notice where your pinky toenail is. Stay here for a little while longer. And as you feel ready to come out of this, come on out of this. And I just want to invite you to take a final pose of your choosing. Right? Really be intuitive here. It might mean that you find your back, take Shavasana. I mean, that's like the habitual classic, yes, we're done with our yoga practice kind of pose. Maybe you want to take legs up the wall or legs up on your couch, or yeah, maybe there's something active you want to do. It's morning. Man, and I can't even tell you how freeing it was for me when I figured out that I can do whatever I want in my yoga practice, right? I see 2 people headstanding. That's so cool. I see folks on their back with their knees in towards their chest. There's no wrong way to close things out. And I think really letting go of the fear of doing it wrong is a nice way to honor the energy of this particular meridian. So closing out your practice, being in your body on this morning. Here you are. Right, and just one more bit out of the Tao Te Ching this morning, chapter 8. The supreme good is like water, which nourishes all things without trying to. It is content with the low places that people disdain. Thus it is like the Tao. In dwelling, live close to the ground. In thinking, keep to the simple. In conflict, be fair and generous. In governing, don't try to control. In work, do what you enjoy. In family life, be completely present. When you are content to simply be yourself and don't compare or compete, everybody will respect you. Breathing into your body on this morning. Watching the wave of your breath come and go. Knowing that all things come and go. Just another moment or two to float here. Good, the deepest breaths you've taken so far today, maybe. A big, big inhale, stopping at the top, feeling that fullness. And then a big exhale, stopping at the bottom, feeling that sense of emptiness. Good emptiness. And allow the breath to come back to normal. Move the body in the way that makes sense to you right now from where you are. Eventually we'll all sit up and look at each other. Yeah. And remember that we're all here, right? No pressure, of course, to put your camera on, but yeah, I don't know. I find that when I'm trying to overcome fear, I have to remember that I'm not alone, right? And I feel like being in community with people and just being present with other people is part of that. So just take a quick look around at the grid. Look at everybody's face. Hi, everybody. Hi. Oh, yeah, why don't we take our hands to our heart? You can take Anjali Mudra, or maybe just set your hands down here and lift the heart up into the hands and broaden across those collarbones. Good, and as you exhale, drop the head down towards your hands and your heart, honoring this time you spent practicing and honoring each other too. Oh, I'm super glad you're all here. Cheers, everybody, and have a fantastic